The first time you see this puzzle game, you'll immediately think of another puzzle game with a similar look, a similar sound, and the same amount of syllables. Feed me oil, world of goo. The comparisons are going to be inevitable. The art style that looks like Tim Burton designing toys for Fisher-Price, the objective of moving mucky glop from one point to another, and get this, it even has the same font. Now, one of those things would be a coincidence. Two, things start to get a little suspicious, but when you see the same font, man, your intentions are pretty obvious. So, Feed Me Oil pretty clearly wants to piggyback on World of Goo's success, but here's the thing, it doesn't need to. Feed Me Oil is more than good enough to stand on its own, regardless of how many syllables are in its title. In fact, you're looking at the App Store's next blockbuster. Developed by Holy Water Games and published by Chalingo, Feed Me Oil is an incredible puzzle game based on the physics of liquid, or more specifically, oil. The game's surreal world is filled with these living landmasses that, for some reason, crave the crude taste of petroleum, and it's your job to quench that thirst for Texas tea. So each of the more than 30 levels has a starting point, a pipe that pumps the oil into the level, and an endpoint, usually the gaping mouth of a wide-eyed mountain or hillside. And in theory, the game is simple, get the oil from the pipe to the goal, but when the oil starts flowing, well, that's when things get delightfully sticky in Feed Me Oil. So every level gives you a set of objects with which to manipulate the oil flow. You have things like platforms, fans, wind gusts, and even magnets, and you can put them wherever you want. In fact, once they're placed, you can even twist them and adjust their angles, all to make sure the oil flows where it's supposed to. Things start off pretty easy, but the difficulty ramps up very quickly. Feed Me Oil is a devilishly smart game with mind-blowing puzzles, rivaling even those of the modern classic to which it so clearly pays homage. In fact, Feed Me Oil might even have World of Goo beat in one important area, and that's possibility. When experimenting with these modern Tinker toys, you get the sense that there could be several different ways to solve each puzzle, and that suspicion is confirmed when you consider the game's rating system. The fewer objects you use to solve the puzzles, the more stars you'll receive, and the higher a score you'll achieve. But obviously, one could also argue Feed Me Oil isn't the most original game. I mean, it certainly plays differently, but it does employ a very familiar kind of puzzle solving, to say nothing of the art style that, well, frankly, almost borders on intellectual theft. I mean, it looks great, and it works well for Feed Me Oil, but every person I showed this game to thought it was either developed by World of Goo's 2D boy, or was actually a World of Goo sequel. I mean, there's being inspired by something, and then there's copying it. And for all the incredible things Feed Me Oil does, both in terms of its gameplay and aesthetics, you just can't ignore which side of that line it seems to stand on. And yet, stand this game does, and taller than most. I wouldn't say Feed Me Oil is a case of perfecting existing concepts, but it does offer a new twist on them, and a captivating one at that. In fact, I gotta tell you, this is one of the best iOS games I've played in a long time. And once you start slopping your hands around in this oil, you won't want to wash them off either.